Hello, and welcome to the review of The Adventures of Amina Al-Sirafi by Shannon Chakravarti. It's not SK anymore, Shannon. I usually do ARC reviews, but I looked on here because I kind of wanted to hear other people's thoughts about the book. I didn't see a lot of reviews, so I was like, hey, let me pop in and give my 2 cents too, so that there are a variety of reviews. I mean, so far it's been pretty well loved. So I don't know if I'm going to be adding anything, but The Adventures of, okay, I'm just going to call her Amina. I'm going to call her Amina because that's a lot of title. Amina is about Amina, and she's a 40-year-old pirate. Yay, we love that. We love it when a fantasy character is over the age of 20. And she was a private. No, I'm sorry. I watched Shadow and Bone. He kept saying, I'm a privateer. She's a pirate. She was a pirate. She has since retired. She is just living a life off the grid, trying not to be bothered. And here comes this woman, and she's like, you are a legend, ma'am, and I need you to find my granddaughter. And she's like, no, I don't want to. But she's like, there's a lot of money in it for you, and she could really use the money because she is struggling. Her brother has a new baby, and so she could really use the money. So she agrees to do it. After she agrees to take the assignment and she starts doing a little bit of research and digging, and she's on the high seas and everything, she starts to realize that this is too dangerous. She has a 10-year-old daughter. Her daughter needs her. She's done with this life, even though she kind of loves it, but she has other priorities. She doesn't want to do it. She goes back to the old woman and it's like, I'm sorry, I cannot do this. And she's like, well, if you don't, I'm going to tell all of your enemies where you are, and they're going to come and kill your whole family. And so she has to do it. And she goes on a new adventure to find this woman's granddaughter. I gave this book, I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to give it. It's not a 4.5. I would say maybe a 4.4. I know that's stupid, but here's why. Okay, I am the one person who did not like City of Brass. If you also didn't like City of Brass, raise the roof. I don't know. I did not like City of Brass because it had too much plot for me. I'm not a plot girly. I'm more of a character-driven person. And I just thought the City of Brass was just a convoluted mess. And I just couldn't do it. But I did like the way she tells the story. I do like her character development. It's very interesting. It's a different culture / religion that I am not really familiar with. And so I was like, okay, let me give her another shot. Glad I did, because I really did enjoy this book. There's nothing really wrong with this book. Like, my only issue with it is that there was a moment where it was starting to drag ass. And I was like, okay, I don't know, it was around page 300, and I'm like, come on, we need to pick up the pace. We're on another location, and I gotta be here at this location. I just felt like the book was like 25 pages too long. I know that's not a lot, but still, especially in the middle, you know, some books have that middle drag ass syndrome. I'm missing a nail. This book had that, and I was like, oh God, okay. And it was a moment where I was just like, I had on like really fast speed, because I was just like, okay, we need to go. The part of the book that was dragging ass was very important though, but I really just needed to get off this island. So that's the only problem with the book. Technically the only problem with the book. Now, the reason why I'm not giving it like a higher score, a 4.5 or higher, is because in order for a book to be a 5-star or even a 4.5, it has to elicit some sort of reaction. I need to be crying. I need to be yelling or wanting to throw the book across the room. I need to be laughing my ass off. Like, I need some sort of emotion to be evoked. And this book did not evoke any emotion, any like huge emotion for me. I don't know why that is. That's a me thing. And is it stupid? Sure. But that's what I need. At this stage in my life, I need some emotion in order for me to give it a 5-star, and I just got none of those things. Like I said, great book, and I'll get into all the likes, but I didn't laugh, I didn't cry. I laughed, but I wasn't like laughing my ass off. I didn't want to throw the book across the room. It was just fine. And I don't mean like it was just fine as a bad thing. I just did not have a huge emotional reaction to the book, unfortunately. I am one of those hoes who compare books. I know a lot of people don't, but I do. And I would compare this book to like Jade City as far as like fantasy. It's not anything near Jade City, but Jade City is, once again, nothing like this book, but it's one of the latest fantasies that I really, really liked. And I gave Jade City a 5. I did not like this book better than Jade City. I didn't like it better than Ninth House, which I gave a 4.5 or 4.75. So because of that, I have to rate it lower. Is this stupid? Yes. Is it arbitrary? Most definitely. But is it something that I do? Yeah, that's how I rate my books. And so I'm going to give it a 4.4. It's stupid, but that's what I'm going to give it. I liked Amina. She is a big woman. I'm gonna guess she's like 6 feet. They never really said how tall she was, but she was a tall, when I say big, I mean tall. She was a tall woman. She stood out. She is in a world where it's usually men, and I can't pronounce the word, I've already forgotten, but she's a captain of a ship. There's a word for it. And she's a captain of her ship. And not a lot of women are captains of a ship. And so she's 40, which is great. Once again, usually fantasy, adult fantasy, main characters are 20 or so. I don't know why that is. She loves her family to death. She will do anything for her family. However, she likes adventure. She doesn't want to stay home and like fix roofs. She wants to go on an adventure. However, she knows she needs to stay home and take care of her kid. She's also has a lot of guilt from some of the crew, her previous crew. Some of her previous crew members did not make it, and she has incredible guilt over that. She didn't make any dumb decisions. I am so sick of books where the main character just makes these bonker decisions and you're like, girlfriend, why? She never did that. Everything she did made sense, and it didn't ruin the story at all for her to make sensical, is that a word? Decisions. I'm gonna make it a word. Sensical decisions. It's okay, I'm an English major. I can make up words. Because this is a pirate book, of course we're going to have a found family. It's the rule. And so her crew were also really great. They all had their own voice. We got to go with her as she reconnected with each of her crew members. I don't know, I think it's been 10 years since she was out there. She met up with all of them. It was an adventure just to even get to them and find them, which I liked a lot. They all added something different to the story, and we didn't get a lot of information about them, but I'm pretty sure that in the subsequent books, yes, there will be more books, we will learn more about her crew. My favorite one, obviously, and this is probably everyone's favorite character, is the poisoner. She has like a master of poisons. She was great. I loved her. This world is also heavily religious, and so we had all kinds of religions, including Christianity, and how people were treated differently because their religion is Christianity, which I don't really see a lot of fantasy books that have like real religion and not like a fake, you know how some religions, like it's a made up gods and mythology, but this really has like realistic or like real religions. And so there was a theme of religion and faith and how devout you are and what that meant and all of that. So that was great. You know what, I did remember one moment that I hated. Let's go back. Let's go back. Okay, so this book has a very heavy feminism theme, obviously, because we have our main character is a woman, and she crews a ship. She's the captain of a ship. And in this world, women are, basically seen as either prostitutes or wives. You stay home, take care of the kids, and you cook and clean. And women are treated really, really shitty. And the author is saying that it is because of the Quran. Like, she's like, this is what the Quran teaches. This is how men treat their women. And we are in the thick of it, where she's trying to get one of her crew members back. He's been taken to jail, and she's like, I gotta go find him. And as they're on their way to the prison, there's a girl in the alley that is basically being purchased by men. And so we have to stop the action and listen to the author go on this diatribe about how sexist the world is and their religion is. And it just really stopped the action. It's not like she took the girl and like saved her. She left her there. She just stopped the action and just started blah, 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 about all of this. I'm like, I understand why, but there could have been a much better way to do that. It just made no sense in that part of the story. That's one thing I really didn't like. It's not that I didn't like the theme, I just didn't like where she decided to place the theme, where she really just like knocked it into our head, like man bad, woman good. Like we know. It seemed like amateur hour. I feel like maybe her editor made her do that. I don't know. Back to the likes. I really liked her husband. And once again, I know there are a lot of people who are going to like the husband. He was the comic relief and he was really good at it. And he was also very hot, and she had some issues with him because he betrayed them, but then he helped them, and then he would betray them again. And so it's kind of like this morally gray character where, you know, you're like, can I trust them? I don't think she can, but they are smoking hot together. And so maybe in the subsequent books, look at a little booty action. I don't know. I don't know if she has spiciness in her books. I don't know. I didn't really get through City of Brass, so I don't know. There's this little trend going around on TikTok, and it's been here on BookTube too, where people will complain specifically on Goodreads that I don't look like the main characters, so I can't relate. I can't relate to them. And it's all bullshit. It just basically means that I want to read about people who are black or brown. And this book is the religion is not my own. I am Christian. I'm also not South Asian. So even though I do not look like these characters, I can get something out of the book. I don't necessarily have to relate to the characters. Sometimes books like this gives you a peek into somebody else's culture. And that's what this book did. Like I said, I'm a Christian. I don't really know much about the Quran, but I found it interesting when she referenced it, their mythology. I'm pretty sure that a lot of the stuff that is referenced as far as mythology is tied to the religion and the culture. And so I really did enjoy reading that. Fantasy can be really repetitive. I don't know how many more dragons I gotta read. Dragon lore, we all know dragon lore. I love dragons, don't get me wrong. If a dragon is on the cover of a book, Dawn is gonna read it. However, it would be nice to have a sea monster every once in a while, which this book did. It had a sea monster. I'm like, cool. I had some really murderous birds. Love it. Demons. Thank you. I need more of that. I don't want to read about fairies anymore. I really don't. I don't like fairies. I don't like vampires. I don't like werewolves. But it's so refreshing to read about other mythical creatures. And that is another thing that I really liked about this book. Like I said, with City of Brass, I thought it was a big old convoluted mess. This book, however, was not. There was a clear plot. Find the daughter, the granddaughter. The granddaughter is looking for something. Find the granddaughter, find the thing, get her home. Very simple plot. Now just execute it. Perfect. It was not convoluted. It was not confusing. It was all very interesting. It had some, like I said, some interesting lore. And I liked all of it, and thank Jesus that it was not a big old convoluted mess. If you have not read this book, I mean, I guess you don't have to listen to it, but it's kind of weird to figure out what's going on when you're reading it, because at the beginning of the chapters, it's like she's talking to somebody and you're like, what? Because I read it for the first couple chapters, and then I found it on Scribd for, well, I subscribed to Scribd, and I could listen to it on audiobook. And so then I started listening to it. And when I was reading it, I was like, is she talking to somebody? What? Who is Jamal? I'm so confused. But then when you listen to it, she's telling the story of her life. And when you listen to it, she'll be like, you'll hear her, like, her voice would go like away from the microphone, and she'll be like, are you sure you want me to talk about it? You sure you want me to talk about this? This is really painful. You sure? Okay, you're the boss. And then she'll start talking. So I liked that part of the book. So if you can get the audiobook, listen to it, because I mean, it's not important to, it doesn't change anything, but it adds a little bit of creativity to the storytelling in the book. I remember another dislike. I probably should take notes when I do these. The villain. I am a strong believer that a villain can make or break a book. I'm not saying the villain broke this book, but I wish the villain could have been in the book more. I wish he could have been on page more. He's called Frank. And I wish he could have been on page more because he was nasty. Nasty as in just evil. I would have liked more of him. That didn't make me rate the book any lower, but that's more of a nitpick. I just wish there was more of him. And I liked the grandma and the whole deal behind the grandma and the missing granddaughter and everything. I found that to be relatable, not to me, but to a lot of people. And I just liked all of that. I will not be doing a spoiler edition because there's really nothing to spoil. I usually will do a spoiler free and then I'll go do some spoilers, but there's really nothing to spoil here. Nothing really good to spoil, but I do recommend it if you like fantasy and you like mythical creatures and you like a main character, a female main character in a fantasy book that's over the age of 20. If you don't really care about a lot of romance, because this book really doesn't have romance in it, if you like pirate books, I highly recommend it. It was fun. It was a fun book. Great characters, great story. Highly recommend. Thanks for joining me. Do I have an outro? Thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next book review. I usually do arc reviews, but I already said that. Bye-bye.